Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tearing right into Lauren Prentice's highly explicit, yet surprisingly emotional guide on navigating the complexities of a threesome. It's a topic that's usually shrouded in taboo and whispered about in private. But right now, we're going to look directly at the mechanics, the etiquette, and the psychology behind it, pulling straight from our source text. So, let's just ask the big question right out of the gate. Can this notorious fantasy actually be executed without totally torpedoing your relationship? For a lot of couples, it stays a fantasy just because the logistics seem like a complete minefield. But according to our source material, with the exact right approach, it is absolutely achievable. To find out how, we're going to follow the author's roadmap today. We'll look at moving beyond the male fantasy, how to actually initiate the conversation, setting those crucial boundaries, the actual mechanics in the bedroom, and finally, navigating that awkward-free aftermath. Kicking things off with Section 1, Beyond the Male Fantasy. It's really about intimacy. You know, what's genuinely fascinating about Princess Guide is her core argument. Bringing another woman into her bed wasn't just about raw physical sex. It was actually about creating this deep intimacy with both partners. She describes knowing she's doing this massive favor for her boyfriend by indulging his fantasy, while at the exact same time, sharing a man actually brings her closer to the other woman involved. It's a fundamentally emotional foundation for a very physical act. Prentice's own journey into this lifestyle is a perfect example of this. She lays out a timeline showing how a solid, trusting friendship with her college roommate gradually turned into a carefully planned holiday proposition for her older boyfriend. Notice the timeline here. This wasn't some rushed, drunken decision at a nightclub at 2 in the morning. She spent months building a sisterly bond with her roommate, Claire, and establishing an exclusive relationship with Hank. By month 5, lacking money for a Christmas present, she actually proposed the threesome as a gift. It was calculated, trusting, and deeply rooted in her existing connections. And that brings us to the absolute core takeaway here. As the author says, as surprising as it might sound, threesomes aren't about sex, they're about intimacy. If you want this to actually work, everyone involved literally has to feel safe and connected. Period. Moving right along to Section 2, Initiating and Communicating. Pitching the idea. If you're thinking about bringing this up to a long-term girlfriend, Prentice has a very specific, highly empathetic playbook. First up, you absolutely have to stress that this is not a secret affair. It's an open, shared experience that she gets to control. Second, cater to her specific kinks so she feels adored, not neglected. Third, try watching some targeted porn together to kind of bridge that gap between imagination and reality. And step 4, be incredibly patient. The source notes it could take days, weeks, or even longer for a partner to fully digest the idea and cultivate their own fantasies around it. Which leads us to Section 3, Setting Crucial Boundaries, the rules of the game. Prentice treats the whole thing almost like a highly coordinated tactical event. You absolutely cannot skip the pregame communication to ensure nobody feels blindsided or pressured. You've got to sit down and discuss exactly who is going to do what to whom. Are you using specific protection? What are the grooming expectations? Like, does everyone expect each other to be shaved? Who gets to go first? Even basic etiquette, like making sure the bedroom is actually clean and inviting, is vital. It sounds a bit clinical, sure, but she argues that mapping out these details is actually a huge turn-on. I really love how she reframes this whole dynamic. The classic male fantasy is that the guy just kind of lays back and enjoys effortless pleasure. But real etiquette, it's strictly ladies first. The author emphasizes that the man actually has to put in a massive amount of work. Think about it. The text points out that if a guy manages to get 2 women into bed but fails to perform, it's incredibly humiliating. So he needs extreme stamina, he must ensure the women are completely satisfied first, and he absolutely should avoid heavy drinking beforehand so he can actually function. And hey, you're definitely going to need to keep your sense of humor handy, because as this quote highlights, things will get awkward. Bodies get tangled up, logistics fail, and patience is your best defense. You have to be able to laugh things off and not take the mechanics too seriously. Okay, so the rules are set, the room is clean. Section 4, Mechanics in the Bedroom. Executing the playbook. Prentice points out a major advantage of the male-female-female dynamic, and that's female fluidity. Straight women are generally pretty comfortable being physically affectionate with each other anyway. So encouraging them to just kiss and touch builds up all this essential chemistry and physical arousal before the guy even gets involved. It is literally the perfect icebreaker. Now the source material gets highly explicit here, detailing specific acts that are really uniquely possible with three people. Take snowballing, for example. It's essentially sharing the finish line. The author uses this specific example to encourage shared participation, making absolutely sure both women remain actively engaged with each other and the man throughout the entire encounter. But here's a really interesting twist. She points out that you don't always have to be physically touching the whole time to be heavily involved. Dedicating someone to be the spectator or cameraman can be an incredibly arousing, submissive role. Sitting back to watch, talking dirty to the other participants, or even playing the role of a maid to reapply lube or hand out drinks allows for a breather while still maintaining this intense sexual tension. All right, the act is over, the adrenaline is fading. Section 5. The awkward free aftermath. Protecting the relationship. The absolute golden rule here? Do not be awkward. Prentice insists that if you set your boundaries correctly in advance, there is zero reason to feel weird. You just immediately revert back to your exclusive dating dynamic. Treat the whole night like a really fun, consensual weekend activity. You were still an exclusive couple, you just happened to invite a guest over for the evening. In fact, she argues that if a breakup happens after a threesome, it was definitely due to pre-existing cracks, not the event itself. Surviving this together should actually cement your trust. It proves a massive amount of mutual trust, shows a deep commitment to satisfying each other's wildest needs, and honestly, it creates this lifelong shared inside joke. I think this quote just perfectly distills the author's whole philosophy into a single, non-judgmental thought. It's just friends having fun. It completely strips away that heavy, dark taboo often associated with non-monogamy and reframes the whole thing as an adventurous, consensual activity among trusting peers. Which leaves us with Prentice's rather provocative final question: there's really only one wrong way to have a threesome, not having one at all. So what's stopping you? Whether this stays a pure fantasy for you or actually becomes reality, understanding the deep communication and empathy required to pull it off is undeniably fascinating. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.